What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ICNV Drivers Edition. In this episode, I'm out cruising the Corvette again. But you want to make this a cruising the Corvette conversation? We can. I don't really know how you want to play it out, but ultimately, the purpose of this video is: should you pay over MSRP for a C8 Corvette or a Z06? I had a video before about the C8 alone, but I just feel like I collaborate with both right now to knock it out the way so you can get answers for both situations. But we can just focus on the Z06. I really don't care. Either way, whatever works for you. But should you pay over MSRP for a C8 or a Z06? Let's go. Okay, so we're going to get right back into this. I paid over MSRP for my C8 Corvette. I had no issue with it. I really didn't want to wait. So I built my C8. I built 4 versions. The same thing I'm going to do with the Z06. So I'm going to show you guys the 4 versions of the Z06 I built. I built 4 versions of a Corvette C8. In my Corvette C8, none of them had a Zeus bronze color. So that was the monkey wrench in my whole ordering plan. But I really liked the color once I saw it in person. So my C8 build was pretty much torch red and white and Elkhart blue, or some people call it the Pepsi blue. So those are my colors for my C8 build when I built out my C8. I was going to shoot a video saying, hey, about to order a C8, because I actually spoke to a dealer and kind of figured out, put down a deposit, and I was actually going to wait to get a C8. They told me 6 months. I was like, okay, I can do a 6-month wait. Then some other things came up, and then they started telling me like a year, and that's when I kind of bagged off. And then they told me they couldn't even guarantee it in a year, and I just asked for my money back. And I started making phone calls, and I'll just be real with you. Once you start making phone calls, you got to figure out what's important to you. I'm going to show you the trick to getting you the Z06, but it takes more than just your participation. So I want you to understand that. There's a way you can possibly get a Z06, but once I release this information, it's going to become harder because everybody's going to try to do it. And that's what's going to become the tricky part about it. So I can't tell you how it's going to play out, but I can just tell you once I share this information with you, some people are going to get lucky, and then it's going to change the game because everybody's going to try to do it. And that's why sometimes you don't want to release certain bits of information, but we're going to see. So what I did to figure out what dealerships could best help me, I went on Chevy.com, built the C8, and then hit find a dealer. And what it did was it showed me dealerships that had Corvettes that were supposed to be inbound. So then I started calling dealers trying to figure out who I could actually order from, mainly focusing on smaller dealerships. So what ended up happening was I found a dealer in Iowa. Getting sidetracked, but also I found a dealership in Iowa. So the dealership in Iowa had an allocation coming up, and they wanted 20 grand over. We went back and forth. So ultimately, we ended up agreeing upon, I believe, right around 15 grand over. And that was cool. It was a 2LT. I literally just had a price market in my mind that I didn't want to spend over. So we went, it was a 2LT, decked out the way I wanted decked out. I went with a lot of color delete options. I had all one body color, things of that nature. And the car came in, we looked nice. They still tried to hit me with some other ways to make more money, trying to raise the price. We fought it, mainly because I was trading the vehicle. So then they started to say, oh, my trade devalued and stuff like that. No time for that. But I went with my own personal finance. I went for my credit union. So my credit union, which will be the reason why you can buy a car over MSRP, is my credit union said for the Corvette C8, and this was still during the early parts, they were willing to go up to 130% of the MSRP of the car. So all I had to do was make sure the bottom line figure was 130% of my then $87,000 MSRP 2LT Z51 Corvette C8, and I'd have been good to go. Now, in the midst of my 4 bills, I had a Z51 built out. I had non-Z51s built out. The whole dilemma was, do I go with a Z51 and get the most bang for your buck? That was the 2LT, Z51, 1 LT seats, yada, yada, yada. And then I had one version of the C8, which was a 3LT, non-Z51, and I called it the Premier C8, and my purpose of that was to do aftermarket modifications. And I reached out to a dealer in Pennsylvania. I originally spoke to them about getting a torch red C8 that was like the bang for your buck version, because they said they had one inbound. And what ended up happening was the guy told me that one was sold, and I was like, oh, okay. And that they possibly can get me one, but it maybe take 8 to 10 months. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool, because I really haven't figured out what I wanted anyway. Just conversation. And I told him like I had 4 different versions, and then I broke down to him, and he said, hey, we got one that's inbound that matches one of your picks, and only thing about it is it's a different color. My owner liked the color, so he went with this color. He felt like it would be one of those hidden gems, plus, So ultimately, they was like, it's Zeus Bronze. We went back and forth on it because I wasn't sold and I hadn't seen any, so I started looking up all the Zeus Bronzes I could see. None of this and so forth. And then one person, I don't remember his name, but one person told me the Zeus Bronze color is very similar to a color on a DB11, and just so happened my local dealership had one in stock. So I went to the dealership, saw the color in person, and I said, I can do a Zeus Bronze. So let's just speed this up real quick. If you haven't already hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, please do so. Hit the like button, help break the YouTube algorithm. Hit the subscribe button, help the channel grow, and also share the video. We got some good information. Share with people. Now, back to the quick topic. I'm going to try to sum this up really, really quickly to stay on course. Ultimately, what ended up happening is I agreed to take the Zeus Bronze because it met several requirements I had in one of my bills. The big key to the whole situation was I'm technically the second owner of my car, because the person that originally agreed to buy the Zeus Bronze color decided to take advantage of the fast money scheme and agreed to sell the car to the dealership where they both could make a profit. I had no problem with it as long as I wasn't paying 30 grand over. So that's how I got my car so quick, because somebody else decided to unload a car that they had ordered to make a profit and said they wouldn't mind waiting down the line to get another one. So that's what happened. And it comes to me, quick turnaround from the day I decided to purchase the car to the end of the time I got the car, wasn't more than 3 months. The whole purpose of this video is, should you buy C8 over MSRP? My reason for saying yes, and the reason why I bought my C8 over MSRP, is because everybody's situation is different. First of all, the car itself is still selling for a premium. The new Z06 It's selling for a crazy premium, and it hasn't even touched the streets yet. I'm still doing my Z06 research, and I do have a hidden gem that will be coming out shortly in episode 3. But I'm still getting quoted these ridiculous prices. I mean ridiculous, anywhere from 30 to 50 grand over MSRP, and nobody knows what the MSRP is going to be yet. With this C8, and what I want you to understand is, $15,000 is the sweet spot for the Corvette C8 compared to what's out there, what it competes with. In my situation, and this is why I say, should you consider buying a C8 over MSRP? In my situation is, I was looking to trade out of a car. At that point in time, the logic behind my decision was, if I stayed in the car for a year, based off what I was being projected by all the dealers that could get my hands on a C8, I would end up paying $14,000 more just to wait a year to get out of it. At that point in time, in theory, I was upside down. Me paying $14,000 and being upside down $6,000, which there probably would have been some form of catch up in that timeline, but in my eyes, it was the same money. So when I negotiated out my deal on my C8, it ended up being a great deal because I felt like the $15,000 I paid over was nothing more than the $15,000 I was going to pay anyway. If you are looking to get a car quicker than waiting a year, you have to figure out how much that is for you. So when you say I wouldn't pay over MSRP, inflation has kicked in. Inflation is still kicking in, and the price of the base C8 is still going up. So when you say I paid 15 grand over MSRP, well, if I would have waited a year, and I hate to say this to you, if I would have waited a year, and honestly, my car will probably still be coming in sometime this month or next month, or maybe just started getting built this month or next month. And with that being said, the car itself has went up 5 grand in price. The options I wanted, almost 7. That's crazy. I built it out before. I can actually release that video. I just never did because it kind of drifted away from a purpose I was trying to get across. But what I'm saying to you is, inflation is still kicked in. So me, in my mind, if I would have waited, I'd have been paying close to 7 grand difference for the options I have on my car to get a similar car. And I've had my car over a year. I actually have a 2020, and we're talking about possibly getting a 2022. So to me, people that refuse to pay the 5 grand over, the 10 grand over, and here's the funny thing about that, is people tell you, yes, I'm waiting for MSRP. Well, the actual thing about it is the MSRP pricing they're getting is MSRP. But what they're also being forced upon, and which I wasn't, is wheel and tire packages. I've seen these $3,000 to $6,000 Corvette preparation fees and things of that nature. It's nothing more than over MSRP pricing. It's just categorized differently. And if you don't understand this, a lot of people who tell you they bought their car at MSRP, when you go back and look at their bill of sale, they still end up paying some form of 3 to 4, possibly 7 grand over MSRP in additional fees that they didn't have to pay that I never paid. So you still end up coming close to what I paid 2 years later in the belief that you got MSRP pricing. But we're not going to focus on that. So you're here to ask me a question. Do I think it's worth paying over MSRP for? The answer is yes. I wouldn't tell you not to buy a car. I wouldn't tell you to wait any time longer. The only difference is with the used car pricing, you usually know what you're getting into. With this new car pricing, a lot of people are getting blindsided, which is the reason why GM came out and made the statement they made. But it hasn't slowed the dealers down from overcharging people. That practice is still going on. So why should you pay over MSRP? The number one reason is you can get the vehicle you desire today. No wait, no down the line, hassle, and so forth. Another reason you would consider buying a Corvette over MSRP is because anything that truly competes with it over MSRP pricing is still its benefit. What I mean by that is, if you're looking at a Porsche 911 Carrera S, because that is the truthful Porsche that competes with a Corvette C8, it's slightly faster, but you're looking at a car that without any forms of markup is about $142,000 brand new. On the used market, you can find between $136,000 and $148,000 and $49,000. So what's kind of funny is there are some places that actually have said the car may have depreciated some. I think it may be with the options that's on it. And there's others that's saying it's increased in value. But what's really going on is not every Porsche dealer tries to hit you with over MSRP pricing, but there are some Porsche dealers out there that's sitting there charging over MSRP pricing. So when you say that, the base C8, as we call it now, or the Z51 C8, which is still the base C8, still at $120,000 or $130,000 is a cheaper option. So what else are you looking at? If you're looking at an Acura NSX, they start out at $140,000. A lot of those cars are now $140,000, $150,000 on the used market, and we're talking about 2017s that once had a $40,000 rebate. Go figure. So Acura NSX, a very comparable car, especially if you want a coupe. And guess what? It's still highly out your price range. The only thing that I hear people constantly saying, I'll just get a Lambo, is you're finding used Gallardos between 2004 and 2007. And let me say that again. 2004 and 2007, that's coming in around the price of a nicely equipped 2LT to highly equipped 3LT C8. And my question is, why would you want a car that's working on 16 years old? Why would you want that? Compared to a new car with way more technology, nicer equipment, nicer leather and so forth, and it has a warranty. You're going into the unknown with the Lambo, but there are people that say, I would prefer the Lambo before I pay over MSRP pricing for a C8. So ultimately, you pay over MSRP pricing for a C8 if you're looking to get a car today, or you're looking to get something that's comparable to a C8 and every other option is astronomical. Myself personally, like I said before, Audi R8, Porsche, Acura. Those were the cars I was looking at. And at this point, all three of those cars are over $150,000. Why would you not buy a C8 over MSRP? One is to flip it. So you may want to hold out. But the realism about that is, it's not the same market as it was before. Another reason you want to buy a car at MSRP is financially, you believe it's not worth it, or your situation prohibits you from going out and getting it for market value. Another reason would be that you're afraid that the bubble's going to burst and you don't want to be called on the negative side of it. So in actuality, it's an investment that truthfully you may not really be in a financial position to buy. With all that being said, should you buy a Corvette for over MSRP? If you're looking to buy a Corvette C8 Z06 within the first 2 years of production, you may want to get comfortable with the idea of paying over MSRP pricing. I believe once the Z06 comes out and midway through the 2023, possibly the 2024 model year, the base C8 will start to do a significant drop. I know there's videos out now saying, oh, the market's coming down. Like I keep telling you, do the research. It's 1LTs that are coming down. The 2LTs and 3LTs are still going for the same. So what you're going to start to see is probably more fully equipped C8s being built. And once those come out, then the other models will start going down. Because the 1LT, which didn't exist at one point, has now started to dominate the marketplace. As far as the C8 Z06 goes, I feel like it's going to have a strong 2-year run of ridiculous markup. But once the next version comes out, which I project is the E-Ray, which I may target, I really want to see how the C8 Z06 performs on the street first before I just dive in. I'm still kind of scary about it. Should you buy a C8 over MSRP? The real answer is it comes down to you, what you value and how you value it. My answer is yes, your answer may be no. But all I can say is good luck in your quest to get a C8 or a C8 Z06. Either way, once you get your hands on it, you will not be disappointed. ICNV Driver's Edition. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Can't wait to see you in your cars. Let me know what you think. Drop some comments. Until later, see you in these streets. Peace. There's really only one reason to pay over MSRP for a car, and that is to get your car today. I want to again thank you for tuning in. Check out the website. We're having a 35% off anniversary sale. Take advantage of it. Get you a nice hoodie or something. See you in the next one. See you in these streets. Peace.